Good morning. Grace to you, Covenant Life Church. Today is March 17th, 2021. We know that to be St. Patrick's Day. It's always a special day for me because on this day in 1986, I asked my wife to marry me, and it's a wonderful memory that I always have. I didn't wear green today, but I'm very much a believer in celebrating St. Patrick's Day, but probably in a different way than most do. Patrick of St. Patrick's Day was a real person, an early church father, a 5th century missionary, and the Bishop of Ireland. This is what Patrick wrote of himself. I am Patrick, yes, a sinner and indeed untaught, yet I am established here in Ireland where I profess myself bishop. I am certain in my heart that all that I am, I have received from God. So I live among barbarous tribes, a stranger and exile, for the love of God. Wow. Patrick and the Celtic Christians were responsible for the evangelization of Ireland, and their methods were cutting edge, they were innovative, risky, and yet very effective. There's a lot to learn from Patrick. One of the things that Jamie and I often speak about because of Robert Grant's influence with us is what we call the Abbey model, which is really the model that was enacted by St. Patrick, where they built an abbey of spiritual practice that was in the middle of a village rather than going outside where the people were removed and build an ornate cathedral. This was a different approach. It was being in and amongst the people. It allowed accessibility and up-close engagement. It allowed people to belong even before they believed. And that is very much the approach that we as a church, along with Boy with a Ball and Love Your City, are trying to engage, especially through our small groups and through our youth group and through Velocity and Love Your City and efforts that we are involved in around our community. But probably the most important aspect of Patrick and the Celtic Christians was their very strong reliance upon the Holy Spirit. They had a term that I've mentioned to you before for the Holy Spirit. They called him the wild goose because they saw the Holy Spirit as undomesticated, untamed, unpredictable. The Holy Spirit is not to be caged. He can't be, or harnessed, or directed, for he is always on the move, going where he chooses, glorifying Jesus wherever he goes. You know, almost every morning when you drive onto the property here at our church building, you will see out in the front lawn a flock of Canadian geese parked out there on the front yard. I always tell Gordon and Selena Green that there are reminders of our Canadian friends. But I sort of think that this flock of geese has been adopting our property as a sign from the Lord, at least to me. As messy as it can be, and you've all experienced that if you've been up on the front lawn, I'm glad that they remind me that the Holy Spirit is like a wild goose. And he's not limited to the spaces of our church building. He's operating far outside of places that we have tried to put him into. He is not limited to where we reside, where we worship, our containers. He is outside the four walls of the building. He's outside the four walls of your heart. And he may come inside on certain occasions and he may stir us up and he may bless us, but he is not confined to that place. He wants us to bust out. I pray on this St. Patrick's Day for each of us that we will be able to see the work of the Holy Spirit outside the four walls of our own heart, of our home, of our church, that we will stand up from our socially distanced seating and we will get on the move with the wild goose, follow him, the Spirit of God, into the neighborhoods and schools, into our workspaces and subdivisions, into the streets and parks and city squares, that we will love our neighbors as ourselves and that we'll invite them to belong even before they believe, and that we'll join the Holy Spirit in all that he is doing. The Lord bless you this day.